everybody, welcome to another episode of the Horror Movie Night Fantastic Fest coverage. I'm sitting here with Zach and Precious from the film Homewrecker.
Hello, hello.
Hey Matt, thanks for having us.
All right, so now you know what they sound like. So someone messaged me the other day because I was telling them about the movie, and they were like, so how would you describe it? And I hope that you're okay with this.
Oh, I want to hear it.
But I said, you know Lifetime movies? And they said, yeah. And I said, imagine if John Waters made one.
That's amazing.
And I'm curious how close am I to kind of the general direction you were aiming for this?
Totally. Definitely. I mean, I don't know that I would say that John Waters is a huge inspiration on me and one of my favorite filmmakers. I don't know that he was an inspiration on this project as much as the movies that he loves are also the movies that I love and that sort of winded up with a similar flavor.
Yeah. It's got that, it's campy, but if you've watched enough Lifetime movies, it's not that far off from...
Right.
There's one that I always remember called, She Woke Up Pregnant. Like, they are insane, the movies that they make.
Do we have Lifetime in Canada? We're both Canadian, and...
Lifetime movies are, I guess... I know what they're talking about.
I know what you guys mean, but yeah. I don't know that I've ever seen a Lifetime movie.
They're like Hallmark movies,
yeah,
but a little grittier, maybe.
Right. So it's the best way to describe it is like someone was like, we need to make Hallmark movies, but we need to make them specifically for like the stay-at-home mom who reads trashy romance novels. So it's like hyper dramatic,
melodrama, a little bit.
Yeah, I love being pulp.
Yeah.
That's perfect word for it, honestly.
Cool. Yeah.
So where did you come up with this concept? Because I'll be honest, at first I was like, okay, this is just kind of like a fun, goofy movie. And then about in the last 15 minutes, it gets really horrific.
Yes. Well, it was Zach's story, right?
I mean, it wasn't my story as much as, it's an old story. It's like 12 years old at this point. Back when I had just graduated from film school, I did film theory and then production. And my film did okay in film school that I started getting hired to whatever, do some odd gigs. And this one person hired me to adapt an article, actually. So this was an article. But what the details were totally different because what I delivered, which isn't that dissimilar to Homewrecker, minus all the great comedy and the great lines that we all came up with together. But it was not. He wanted a Lifetime movie, and I gave him because I took that premise and I'm like, how could I like this? Is sort of how it. Yeah, and then for a long time it just was in the back of my mind, and then
we wanted to make something, and then you told me about the premise, and I was like, fantastic, one location, 2 actors, all the things that we needed to sort of. I mean, it's not just 2 actors, but that's the parameters made it doable for us.
Right.
And then we wrote out the story beats. Me, Alex, and Zach wrote out the story beats together because she lives in LA. And we are both based in Toronto. And then Zach and I, because we were using my actual house as a location, and my boyfriend was going on vacation.
Specifically to leave the scene of the crime, by the way.
For 2 weeks. We knew we had to shoot by then, and so we had this amazing deadline that made us write the script in about a month and a half.
I love that it's a real location. Because I guess it feels like a cartoon reality. You know what I mean? It's very fairy tale-esque in the presentation.
That. Yes, and that was part of the satisfaction of creating it. Is we could create this world, this sort of hyper girly pulp culture referenced feminist idea of being raised in the 80s and 90s, what that does to you as a woman. And I mean, I'm getting all about it, but it was such a delight to be able to infuse the movie with all this girliness that's so
and we loved exaggerating it all, but meanwhile
with a twist
we were even more excited about grounding it as well, to have the 2 extremes sort of battling each other out in the film.
And Alex is I loved working with her. She's an amazing actress, so that brought it all up to this sort of real level. There definitely was a heart connection, which sort of made it not just a kooky. It gave it real heart.
And And they're both friends of mine, and I just for years, the last couple of years, couldn't wait to get them in the same room acting.
Yeah, we wanted to do something together.
And then I just got to sit and watch, and what a pleasure.
It was fun.
Watch them work together.
Well, your character specifically is so interesting because it's got a little bit of like that movie Drop Dead Gorgeous of like that used to be like the star cheerleader and life didn't work out and they lost their fucking mind because
yes.
like,
yeah, that sort of, well, like, I'm midlife, so it's like that midlife, it's my midlife crisis on crack, basically. And like, also, I love the movie Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
You're the second person I've interviewed who referenced that as one of the influences
Really?
of their movies, and
That's
I
funny.
love that movie.
Yes, those performances, I was just haunted by them, and I love the sort of hyperrealism of it, and the grotesqueness of it.
And if I can use a nasty word that I would never in a million years apply to Precious, but I love the genre hagsploitation.
Hagsploitation. Did you see the giant? They have the giant straitjacket
Yeah, of
poster
course.
hanging.
The first thing I noticed when I walked in, I was like, oh my god, because for Precious, it's more Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, but for me, like, I love Straitjacket, and I love late Joan Crawford films, which Whatever Happened is one of them.
I was just talking about that movie with someone the other day because I was talking about how deep-seated that hate was.
Right.
And how much I love, like, even in death, they were so catty towards each other. Because there's that Betty Davis quote when Joan Crawford died that was like, my
Right.
mom raised me to never say something bad
Oh my
about the
God.
dead, only good. Joan Crawford's dead, that's good.
Oh my god. And like, let's not forget, like, they both had daughters who wrote tell-alls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Joan Crawford didn't get an 80s pop song written about her eyes, unfortunately.
Yes.
That's true. Yeah.
That's true.
So what really does work in this movie also, though, is no matter how unhinged your character becomes, and I guess Zach's camera work is a big element of this, as well as your performance, is that you never fully hate her because you really feel for
Oh, that's nice.
her emotionally.
That was very important.
Yeah, because there's no, both of them are not handling the issue. It's like, it's one of those things where you watching, you're like, there's a way that this could just end as like two people sit and watch a movie and get to know each other and then they
Right.
go their separate ways.
That's right. That's why, like, there's so many different descriptors for the film. Some people want to call it a comedy. Some people want to call it a horror. I often enjoy calling it a melodrama. But ultimately, I consider it a tragedy.
Yeah. The tragedy of being polite.
Yes.
The tragedy of crossed wires.
The tragedy
and-
of politeness, the tragedy of loneliness.
Right.
The tragedy of sort of heteronormative romance that you're fed as a girl growing up.
Yeah.
So where did you so I always try to avoid too much of the plot details when I do these interviews because again, if people are listening and they haven't seen it yet, but I need to talk about the hunk game.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Party hunks. Zach's
Yeah, I mean,
sister.
we had been writing it, we had been writing the script, but we didn't really have a centerpiece for the film. Is sort of how that started. We were just really trying to think of, like, we knew exactly where the movie was going. We just didn't really have a middle.
Middle act. Always the hardest.
And then, it just sort of dawned on us that it would be brilliant if we could bring a slumber party element to it.
Yeah.
That, like...
Pretty in Pink was an influence for me.
Yeah.
Like that sort of 80s romance, John Hughes-esque feeling.
Right.
And then Party Hunks creating that game because, I'm from that era. It was just so delightful to me because I was able to use these sort of tropes that the hot guy, always like boy crazy, like trying to get the guy.
Toxic stereotypes that are perpetuated for your generation.
Yeah, and also this sort of weird thing that happened as a teenager is like you are obsessed with boys, but it's not really about the boys. It's about really being intimate with another girl. So you don't really care about the guy. It's just the idea of guys talking about boys allows an intimacy between women.
Right, bonding through an object of desire or something.
Anyways, but then coming up with the game was so fun and like just sort of satirizing all the weird things that they do, like they give girl culture like about boys and like rapey stuff.
Well, like
rapey undertones.
That's oh my god. There's the one. It's like ooh, you got to babysit and the dad drives you home. You get 30 kisses from that. Like,
That I'm sorry you didn't get to watch it with an audience, because that's maybe my favorite moment to watch with an audience, particularly because it generally like takes a second, and I'm always curious who's going to be the first laugh, and then because the first laugh sort of signifies others like, oh wait, that wasn't a good thing to say. That was not a very kosher.
Yeah, it kind of takes a minute to land, which is kind of fun to
And I like that.
the audience goes, oh, what?
well, and then because at first it's like, okay, so it's kind of just like a Dreamgate or like a Dream Phone. I was the one I always remember.
Totally.
But then you have this weird, like, the VHS tape board game thing that was like such a weird fad just
Right.
injected into it. It's
like-
so
For
insane.
like 3 years, there was like this VHS element
Right.
to things that was very like, woo.
Then we were really having fun, right?
Yeah, that was really fun.
I mean, the whole movie feels fun. Like, it feels like it was a fun shoot. And I think that, you know, those are the types of movies that I think people gravitate towards. I always use Empire Records as an example, but like,
I love that.
Empire Records is a really fun movie. It's not necessarily a good movie, but when you watch it, you're like, they had a blast making
Well,
this, and you get so pulled in.
For the sake of time, if I, and like posterity, if I succeed in making my next movie, just so you know, it's Empire Records is a huge influence.
Oh, I'm excited.
And I agree with you. It's not like the best movie of the 90s by any stretch, but like there's...
But I've watched it more than any other movie in the 90s.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to make. It was exhilarating. It was like the one of the hardest things I think I've ever done.
Oh yeah, the
And
shooting schedule was messed up.
And just having to like set deck one room and shoot the other and be in it, and it was like we wore a lot of hats.
Well, especially because you're, I guess, writer, star, and then also in a weird way set dresser.
Well,
like,
yeah. And,
Yeah, and
I was
producer.
like writer, director, PA.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I might have been discussing the scene with the actors, I was carrying sandbags
Yeah,
for the DP.
and like also part of me was like, well, we can't do another take of this because I can't. As a producer, I was like, we got to keep moving. But as an actor, so it was like, but for me, I think as an actor, it helped me a lot because I didn't have time to be precious about my performance.
I didn't have time to be precious.
I didn't. I just had to go for it.
I
Yeah.
had to be Linda.
Yeah, and I was really, and then probably the most fun part I had was when we shot the Lisa Loeb stuff.
Yeah, but no spoiler.
No spoilers.
No spoiler.
I mean, some programmers like to just say it, or reviewers.
No,
just
but
tell people
yeah,
about it.
that was really fun. But
No,
totally, I was worried about that. I was like, I'm having so much fun, and I'm not sure if it really fits this moment in the movie.
I was gonna say I'll speak as little as possible because I agree with you. I don't like spoiling anything, but I do like that there's this element of, does she actually know the words to this song throughout that whole scene?
I
Yeah.
didn't.
Oh no, but we actually picked a verse. We're like, this is where Linda stops knowing the words.
But I really, it was also like, I really didn't.
Well, like of
And I
course, it's
couldn't-
not your favorite song or anything.
No, but as an actor, I probably would have been more prepared if I'd had the time. But it worked.
Well, we broke it up.
It did work for us. It worked,
yeah.
and actually, it became one of those happy accidents that you just have to embrace.
Yeah, that's fun.
So if listeners are interested in seeing Homewrecker, but you know they're not here right this second as the interview is happening, where else is it playing, or is there any websites or anything where they can see the screening schedule?
It's early, so we're still figuring out the next screening and the screening after that. So I actually couldn't tell you where this will play next.
Yeah.
I actually do know where it's going to play next, but
we're
I
not
don't think
allowed
I'm
to
at
announce
liberty
it.
to say yet.
Yeah, we can't announce it yet, but hopefully it'll be more places.
Is there any social media or anything where they can follow you guys to find out?
Yeah, we have an Instagram, Homewrecker the movie.
Which
Okay.
Precious runs, and we're
And-
so appreciative of.
So please follow us on Homewrecker the movie, and on Facebook we have a Homewrecker page.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we have a trailer that people can watch.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you,
you. It
Matt.
was really
Appreciate it.
fun.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.